All right, so I last left off about the fact that Puritans, in terms of their sexuality, um, they were instructed to basically have conservative but lawful sexual contact with each other as man and wife only. Um, but there's something I want to point out on this before I go on this next section here and talk about um, or this next topic, should I say, that the Puritans were very anti-Catholic. And so they would have not viewed themselves as anti-sexual in the sense, and because Catholic clergy made vows of celibacy, which the Puritans saw as being not biblical, and they kind of equally saw that as perverse, because for them, becoming fruitful and many and multiplying and filling the earth was a commandment of God. And so the marriage bed between a man and wife was sacred, and the idea of telling someone that they couldn't do that would be seen as again not biblical in their mind. Okay, so they were not anti-sex; they were anti-sex outside of the context in which that they felt was okay, and also again felt that husband and wives should not be too creative in the bedroom as well. Okay, because sex was to procreate. Okay, now this also led to them having very strong moral views on many things. When I say moral, having a very strong set of opinions about even a topic like masturbation. And I'm bringing this up because these were things actually put into writing at the time. Okay, so here is a Puritan minister. This is a treaty written in 1723, or published. It looks like here. But I think he might have written that before. But in any case, he said it said the pure Nazarite advice to a young man concerning an impiety and impurity not easily to be spoken of, which many young men are to their perpetual sorrow too easily drawn into. A letter forced into the press by the discoveries which are made, that sad occasions multiply for the communication of it. That's a lot of language to say, hey, I want to help young men not masturbate. That's what he's trying to say. Okay, and just to take a look at some of what he's saying here. Um, let's see if I can go to. Okay, my son, there is a crime which from the confessions of many whom I find with souls bleeding under guilt of it, I fear that many are guilty of. For this cause I am jealous over you with a godly jealousy, that you be in danger of being drawn into it, and I am the more so because you are among those who may instruct you in and invite you to this way of sinning. And my son, if sinners entice thee, yea, there are, alas, many that sin without a teacher. They are self-taught, or may I rather say, taught of Satan, to do the detestable thing. It's time for me to tell you that the crime against which I warn you is that self-pollution, which from the name of the only person it stands forever stigmatized for in our Holy Bible bears the name of onanism. Among the libidinous practices of them who do evil with both hands earnestly, they have the cursed way of procuring a discharge which the God of nature has ordered only to be made in a way which a lawful marriage leads into. Okay, I'm just going to leave that portion. Now, onan, actually, the Bible doesn't mention masturbation anywhere as a side note. But Onan was a man who was supposed to fulfill in his marriage, impregnating his wife. And in the Bible, it says that he pulled out and spilled his seed onto the ground, and then God uh, punished him for that. So that then was, in a sense, implying that they use that to infer something in the context of masturbation. But I'm just clarifying that it actually didn't say that. Um, Interesting enough, that I was reading in 2 Corinthians 6, 9, and 10, I believe. The word that's often used for homosexual now are effeminate in the King James Bible is from the word malakos. And malakos just means soft, but in modern Greek it actually means masturbation. And at times I read, and I haven't found the text, that Martin Luther thought, or that some members of the Greek Orthodox Church even, that was actually talking about masturbation, the word malakos. But I've never seen actually a documentation of them saying that, though. I just read it in a history book by a scholar, so just thought I would point that out. And by the way, I like to talk about these things in the sense that we want to humanize the people of the past. I'm not just doing it to kind of mock them or to talk about something that's kind of awkward, but I think it's helpful. I mean, how boring learning about the Puritans I felt again when I was in high school. Now, obviously, for obvious reasons, we couldn't go into details like this, in a high school class. But I do think it's fair to say that, like the textbook implies, Puritans at play. Puritans had, as I was saying, a wide range of views that they actually openly articulated. They did view these topics, even though he was not wanting to talk about it and trying to use all of these words to get around it. They wanted to address things like masturbation. How would you help people not do this if they think it's wrong and it's common? Okay, things like that. And which leads me to the next topic. Puritans, they were literate and they read a lot. They may not have had a wide world view. They were not worldly wise in the sense of, they were very limited in their world views. That's how people would look at them. But they were people who were actually kind of still hip to the times. They obviously, were reading a lot, such as the Bible. And in this sense, the textbook talked about that reading became democratized, that it was something viewed that everybody would and should be reading. The Bayes Psalm book, published in Boston in 1640, was the first book published in the American colonies. So really, we're talking about Protestant Christianity really, really taking root in the earliest part of our colonies in the culture, okay? And no matter what someone's belief is on religion or the views of the Puritans, you just can't deny that. It's here. The reading of the Geneva Bible, okay, it's a translation, not the King James, was often read out loud and was a very popular pastime, okay, to read the Bible out loud. The New England Primer sold about 8 million copies from 1690 to its last edition in 1830. So they had their own kind of literary genres, if you will. Okay, we have the prayer you might have heard. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray thee, Lord, my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray thee, Lord, my soul to take. This is rooted in. I remember hearing that mentioned on a cartoon when I was a kid, from an old cartoon. So very much a part of our culture. Here's some of from the primer. Kids would learn how to read and do their ABCs. In Adam's fall, we sinned all. You start off right away getting a good dose of that as a child, okay? Thy life to mend, this book attend. What? The Bible. Okay? All of this is very much religious instruction that also helps the child become literate. But then look at some of the difference of time. The idle fool is whipped at school. Oh my goodness. Okay. By the way, the principal could hit you when I was in kindergarten. I remember bringing home a permission slip from Fremont Elementary, asking if my parents would allow the principal to hit me if necessary, and my dad said no, that's his job. That's the old school world. I'm just letting everybody know. For some of you younger folks, the older folks, this is no surprise. Okay, so and then later on, I just want to kind of point it out that this tradition of this using this form, when Washington comes in, W, by Washington great deeds were done. Okay, so they're going to continue to develop these things up into each generation. They would put it out something new. Now, public punishments. These were viewed as moral theater. Executions drew large crowds. Yes, executions. Okay. Vendors had theater-like programs that you would actually pass around. Public humiliations, whippings, and mutilations were something that were kind of an exciting festival because of its moral theater. And a Quaker, a female Quaker, Mary Dreier, was led to an execution in Boston in 1660. So this is something else I want to point out. They were very much, when you see Saudi Arabia or the Taliban, it's not unfair to compare the Puritans to Saudi Arabia and the Taliban. I mean, we're talking about a very strict, physically enforced way of people living, and people who strayed from gender expectations, from theological expectations, would find themselves actually having physical harm, or all the way up to even possibly being killed. So I don't want to reduce their society entirely to that, any more than I want to reduce Saudi Arabia entirely to that, or even, you know, Afghanistan when it was under the Taliban. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, and this comes from John Calvin. Calvinism, he actually had a man burned at the stake for not believing in the Trinity. Or was certainly seen as, he didn't stop it, that's for sure. And so, you know, these were strict theocrats. They believed in a sort of type of theocracy as well, okay, where God's laws were implemented. And Nathaniel Hawthorne's book, The Scarlet Letter, also reflected that kind of aspect of early colonial life. I'm going to end here, and then we'll go to the next section.